Hey guys, I'm done. Been back at work 2 days. It's fairly productive 2 days, but I've got tomorrow off. But it will be also fairly productive, I guess. I'm about done. It's very hot. I've been crawling around under machines and in piles of sawdust and stuff all day, and I'm a bit over it. It's filthy dirty by the time I got home. Honestly, don't know if there'll be very much that we'll do on this stream tonight. Might not be a very long one, to be honest. Printer's going downstairs. I've got to finish a pattern. I hope to finish a pattern tonight. It's all screwed on the match board. It's just a matter of a riser and stuff. It needs to be screwed on too, and some probably a couple of coats of paint, but it's looking all right. Don't know what else really. I've got a dozen jobs on the go. CAD work and other work. What have I been working on? A few jobs. Haven't really looked at the plane, and I'm not going to tonight. I think I'm going to give that a break for a day. There's only one piece left to do, and it's not a very big job to do it, maybe. We got a lot of the difficult stuff out of the way last week, but not feeling it tonight. Sitting into some fairly serious CAD work is not really doing it for me. Have a look at some of the other jobs we're doing. Come on, reconnect. There we go. How do I do this? Hear my mouse crashing around. There we go. There we go. This is one job that I'm doing. This is a plug cock or a plug for a gauge glass test cock. The old one's worn out. It's off 1919, which is the railway locomotive over in the shed. Very, very similar to what's on it. With a good wire brush up and some casting marks. It's probably going to be very nice, I think. The parallel part's got to be machined to a taper with a thread on the end of it to be determined later. But it really needs to be parallel to start with. Reason being is that if we set this up in the 3-jaw, we can put a center drill in this end out here. I'm still annoyed that I can't make my cursor any bigger. I can do it on my computer, and it has been done on my computer. It just doesn't show across on Restream for some reason. Might have to look into that. It's a different platform, maybe. So if I set this up, we can machine a center hole in this end and probably this end, and then we can machine it between centers and put that taper on. So that's the plan. The other is to go on a match board, so it's split in half, like so. and like so. So half goes on one side of the matchboard, the other half goes on the other side. And it's all pinned and screwed. There will be another screw in here somewhere, probably in the centre, something like that, just to stop everything from moving around. It's glued on the board, but I'll put a little screw in there. And if we do a decent pattern for that, that makes it an easy job to machine at some point, and an easy job to cast it. It's metal. So that's nearly finished. I'd like to have it this open day here tomorrow, or working bee day, and I'd like to have it sort of get approval on or whatever before then. We're at the steamroller tomorrow for the day. It's going to be another stinker. It's in Grafton though. Early start. Try and get go live from there at some point, 10 o'clock or so. 9 or 10 o'clock. We'll see how we go. I'm going to be pretty well left here by about 7 again as normal. I was this morning and yesterday morning. I hope everyone can hear me. I feel like I'm sitting way back here. I probably am. I can move closer. Oh. Let me roll closer on the chair. Try that. So that's a couple of steam jobs. What else are we doing? For Carl at work, mate at work, job for him, and this is what's inspired this whole hand plane thing, and I was playing with this. This is his CAD work, and I've just tidied it up a bit. Because there's some interesting things in here. One is a skew, and it's a compound angle, so it's got a bit of an angle. Well, normal sort of low angle that way, and it's also got 7-degree angle or something that way across the plane, and that gives us a mouth that looks something like that. It's not a real easy thing to model, so that's sort of what it looks like at this point. I'll do a bit more to it at some point. I think it needs... We could print a prototype to see how it feels, but at this point it probably needs a little bit of work, especially in the front here. I don't particularly like this here, this square plane right across here. It's got a bit of taper on it, I think, but it's very blocky, and maybe something in a curve around there, or you're really not sure. Haven't given it much thought. It's just got a Norris style, like adjuster to adjust the blade angle and the depth. That's got to be incorporated in there somehow too. This at the back, it just takes a standard, basically a Stanley tote, like so. Except that's not a Stanley tote, because a Stanley tote has a bolt down through the middle of it. So I'm not sure how that works, but usually you've got a bolt down through here somewhere. which screws into the base on an angle, holds it all tight. So, don't know about that. But, yeah, potentially it's probably not a bad looking plane. Excuse me. A bit of a stinking thing to 3D print and cast, but we'll get around all that like we always do. And that should be very nice. It's still about 35, 36 centimetres long, something like that. So it's a fair lump of a thing, about 2¼ inch wide. So, well, it's easy, I guess, to cast something. It's good to get to cast something and take a lot of machining cleanup, perhaps. So that's another work in progress with some purpose. Unsure how that's going. Really need to transfer the adjuster parts or the adjuster gap and stuff in through here before we print it and do something with this. Anyway, that's one project. Here's another one that I've been tearing my hair out. This is a cabinet for the launch. Here we go. This is what I sort of want, right? The cabinet for under the launch. Heard me talk about this. I don't know if I've ever actually put up a picture. What I want is a couple of teals in it like this, and you pull them out and they tilt over center. So they stay open, you push them back and they stay shut. Sort of right here somewhere. A bit more weight in the tray open when they're empty. And this is going to be, I've got a length of a sheet, half a sheet or quarter a sheet or something of 0.6 perf metal with about 2mm holes in it, 1.6, 2mm holes. And I'm going to make that out of that, and then just hardwood fronts, and then all the rest of the box are going to be dovetailed up. Got to work out some sort of a pivot mechanism, and I've got to get the geometry right. So I've sort of been messing with that. I think this isn't bad, but when we do this, it doesn't quite go back that far because it should hit there. But unless you have the corner right here at the end of that, then this one touches on the bottom and this one touches too when it comes out. So the idea is that it falls forward without actually fouling on anything until it touches there, and it sits back on here on the base. So I think I'm getting there. It's a bit of work in that, to be honest. And while I've seen something similar that my dad did years ago, I haven't got any real notes about it. So we're still sort of looking at that. It should be good. Most of the blue part's going to be out the four corners like here, and probably just slide this one in, maybe with a double captive dovetail in the sides there, something like that. And we'll probably just put a plywood back in it, or don't know, but something that's all nice and solid and secure. And then we've got to at some point make actual bearings for it that go in, which is a bit of fun because I'd like the bearings really need to go, they don't need to be particularly heavy, but they need to go right here. If that's 19mm, stick there, that timber, and they need to be 19 millimetres up from the end, and it needs to be a 19 millimetre radius so that everything clears. And it's right on the side of the bit of timber. So whether you get some I don't know. I really don't know. Just thinking just to have a ball race, a little ball race in the corner. But it really needs to be set into the cabinet, which is the blue part. And then somehow we need to cut the wooden front away so that it actually clears. No thoughts about that yet, but that's sort of what I'd like to do. We've got like a oyster handle to go on here and a launch plate to go on one of them as well. And that might work, or it might not work. So I'm tearing my hair out about that a bit. I've been spending a fair bit of time on it, trying to get that sorted. But that's what I'd like. I'd like something that'd be full of parts with this perfect metal tin box and maybe some wooden dividers or something in it. And so that you can tip it up and access everything from the top. And then you can push it down or push it in and have this flush really in the actual opening so that the dust and stuff doesn't get in. Anyway, that's another thing that I've sort of been messing with a bit. All my spare time. I'd like to get some sort of a prototype working, whether it's cardboard or timber or what, I don't know. I think the box, like the part that's blue in the drawing, the box is pretty right, so I just need to make that up and then make the drawers to fit. But I can't really put that in because if I am going to countersink some bearings into the box, you can't really do that after it's all put together. So it's going to have to be I do that and then put it together afterwards, sort of a job. Anyway, new box for the launch. Another job that I've been messing with, or a couple of jobs. Let's go with this one first. It's this one. This is the cover for, have a look at this. This is the cover for my taco. This is the last prototype. On my lathe, make an aluminium cast cover that sits together. I've given away these little clips. I was going to put like an over center clip to hold it in place, but I don't think that's going to work because the other thing is I don't really need to take it apart. So a couple of nice filler head screws, one here and one here in the green one. It's all very well, but we've got a problem with this. Where is it? No idea. Good question. No real answers on that. That must be downstairs again. I'm probably put it away. The problem being that the PCB is not sold, or the LED 9-segment display thing on the PCB is not soldered on straight. So problem is if you have a square window, it doesn't fit. You've got to make it quite a bit bigger. So I guess there's two things I can do. I can unsolder it and resolder it. That's probably the straightforward thing. I've just got to find time to do that. See if I can get a bit better before I do anything else. And then this window will sort of fit but it also needs like a blue or a green or something, cellophane or coloured glass screen in it. I don't know, or coloured plastic screen in it. I haven't thought about that very much yet. But how that's going to work. But I think if we put a recess in the outside and machine it in, then we could sit it in and put a little frame over the front. Something like that, with a couple of little screws, something like that. Anyway. So I've been messing with that. That should cast up nice. That's not going to be terrible. I've got these. We've had a look at these. I think we might go back to probably. There we go. We'll go back to this and have a look. These are pretty rough cast, but they were nice on there, and this one's a bit rough. These are legs for the little lathe. So at some point I want to clean these up too. Other one's the same, sort of. This one's quite clean. This one's a bit rough, but they'll clean up. They want a bit of a file through here. And a board stuck between them and two little bolts through the bottom, one of which is going to have a treadle on it. So I've got a match board downstairs for foundry patterns. Rather than do them like this, which is not really successful, and find little bits like this, we'll put everything on a match board, both sides. Headstock for the lathe and the treadle, probably the treadle, and I don't know if there's a bit of that perf metal left over. It might make a treadle out of that. I don't know yet. Tailstock, a few things like that. Maybe a pulley. Still thinking about a pulley. Don't know what the best thing. It needs to be 60mm diameter with a single groove on it. Run a bit of rope or something. No idea. Maybe 4 or 5mm thick. That's another job we've been messing with. This weekend I wanted to do something just for me, because it feels like the whole Christmas break and quite a period of time before that, all I've done is things for other people, which is all right. I don't mind. But I did play with this. Now, I might have a look at this. I'm still maximised. Sorry, guys. There we go. So I did play with this a bit. This is Muncaster's 1.5" by 1.5" vertical steam engine. It's a very pretty model. It's from this book, because everything's all in one place in this book. I'll have a look at this again. This is Muncaster's book. It's all back to front to you guys. Model stationary engines, the design and construction by H. Muncaster, containing over 100 working drawings and sketches. That's it there on the front. Muncaster's drawings are not Muncaster's, I don't think. Muncaster wrote for Model Engineer for about 5 years, something like that, pretty regular. And I don't think that this is all that he wrote by any means. I've got most of it in Model Engineer magazine. But as a consequence, these drawings, which are terrible, are probably Percival Marshall's drawings from Model Engineer, the editor. He did a lot of them. So the information's all sort of there, but it's on this one, which is the horizontal version. And this one, which is the vertical version. So only a little page of drawings. There's probably something more in model engineer, and I should look it out, because if there's better drawings, there's the bearings. If there's better drawings, I probably should look them out, but it's not a project that's probably unlikely to ever get built. It's quite a complex little engine. 1.5 by 1.5 makes for a nice model. This doesn't really have the issues that most models have, in that if you scaled this up, if you doubled it in size and made it a 3 inch by 3 inch, or tripled it and made it 4.5 by 4.5, I think it'd still scale very good. 4.5 by 4.5, it'd give you about an 1.5 inch crankshaft. It'd make it about, what have we got? 30 inches tall, 31 inches tall, something like that. And it'd make bolts, instead of most of them being 532, a lot of them, probably 5.8, half inch 5.8, which is a pretty stocky little engine, but it's in keeping the industry, sort of. It's got about as it's drawn there, which is 1.5 by 1.5, it's got a 5-inch flywheel. So the triple size one would have like a 15-inch flywheel, which is in metric terms is 375 mil, something like that, and about 1.5 inches across. I have no trouble getting a flywheel. I probably have not a lot of problems getting the bearing and the pieces cast, but the main parts in cast iron might be fairly expensive. As easy as it might be to do them. You've got a crank. No, sorry. You've got the flywheel and the base and the column and the 2 cylinder heads and the cylinder in cast iron. The rest are either sort of fabricated or different metals. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of how that is, but I don't think it'll ever happen. It's nice. It's very stylish, very well designed, well thought out, modern engine. It has piston valve and slide valve variants. Balance crank, all that sort of stuff. It should be good for 1500 RPM. It's a nice little engine. That base would be, gosh, I haven't got a clue. I have to measure that up. Because we're still looking at this. Anyway, sorry. That base would be, use this little measure tool down here behind my head. We click that. We can click that one. Click that one. And that one. It's about 130. Which 3 times would be 390, 400 by about 70 mil, so 210 by 490 on the base. The actual height measurement would be from there to there. That's 196. If we look at that in inches. 8.8 plus 1.5 is 9.8, 10.5, yeah, nearly 11 inches tall, 1.5 by 1.5. So 32, 33, something like that. 3 times the 4.5 by 4.5 inch cylinder. So I think that'd be a very nice engine, to be honest. Someone wants a project. It's beefy, a 1/2 inch crank, about 6 inches long, or 1.5 by 18 inches for the big one. I think it'd be a very nice engine, either way. And if you scaled it down halfway, it'd be nice too, but it'd be fiddly at 3/4 by 3/4. Anyway, I think that's probably about it for me. That's what's been happening this week in CAD. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. There will be a lot more to report tomorrow from a workshop point of view. But that's a bit of a look at it, how it all works. At some point I might finish this or I might not, but very pretty engine. In full size, I'd like to see some sort of a, rather than open casting in the base, some sort of a splasher built in shaft, and I don't think to do even in the model. I'd like to see a two-piece piston anyway at some point if you're going to build it, with the top that screws on it, probably a nut that goes on over the top of it, so that it's easy to put rings on. It's full-size practice. So that's what we're doing. Anyway, thanks for following along. It's just an update. There's no actual CAD happening. That's about it. There's Muncaster's engine and the donation box we're working on. Carl's little plane, or big plane, which we're going to print at some point. Castings for 1919. So on and so forth, etc. Anyway, I'm out. It's late. I'm tired. It's been a short stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. If there's anyone actually there, or anyone actually heard anything, or if we had any audio problems or whatever, I don't know. But we'll catch you next time.